Hey, Shalom. Okay, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Okay, double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and salutations to the hopeful elect of the children of Israel that are people of Negro, Latino, Native American, and Seminole Indian descent. All right, let me not fail to mention the Israelite foreigners as well, who have been scattered amongst the heathen nations around the four corners of the earth, but are Israelites through the father's side. Again, much peace, blessings. Okay, so as you can see here, order of Ko and Hegelian dialectic. I'm not sure if I even pronounced that even correct or not, that Hegelian dialectic. Well, my main focal is the order out of Ko, which you've noticed a lot of brothers, if not all, every now and then may mention it, and especially according to the times that we're living in, which is coming into major play here. It's just one of the devil's tricks, man. Order out of Ko, which every once in a while you'll hear me mention Freemasons, which just Freemasonry. You can refer to it as the modern song that these devils are saying, which is Freemasonry is pretty much Isaiah 14. You know, where you also hear every once in a while mention the Illuminati, which there are those clowns that are pushing that. Oh man, them conspiracy theories. There's no secret societies in the Bible. You know, there's no secret societies in the Bible, but whereas, you know, when you go into 14 and 21, Isaiah 14 and 21, it straight up mentions it. Lucifer. And Lucifer isn't some spiritual being. You know, when you go into the word itself, Lucifer is referring to an individuals that have the wisdom. In Isaiah 14 and 1, it's referring to these devils that's having wisdom on the left-hand side, which is pretty much Satanism. Okay? And that's where this order out of Ko comes from. It comes from Freemasonry, which pretty much is Satanism. And it has nothing to do with the true living power of Yahweh, Shem Yahashai of the scriptures. Nothing at all. Okay? It's the so-called, because we're the original illuminated ones, but in righteousness on the right-hand side. Okay? But again, the rulers of this world, which the wicked of this world, which we're always given reference to Job 9 and 24, the earth was given into the hands of the wicked. These are those people, the wicked, that are pushing order out of Ko, you know, and studying, going under this, going into order out of Ko, which they don't. This is not a hidden fact or hidden information. Where order out of Ko, which she had, it's where what order out of Ko is a Latin, and who are the Latins? Who were the Latins? Starting with the Greeks, the freaks, and then continue on into the Roman Empire, which we're in that moment now of the new Roman Empire, which was reborn again, which started, you know, I'm always going to say that period of the Renaissance was, you know, where this devils crawled up out of those caves and you know, and then ultimately went out and conquered the world, where you know, where you can get where eventually America came out of. Okay. So order of Ko is a Latin phrase meaning order out of chaos. It's a motto which various interpretations also associated with the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Okay, where it signifies the Masonic goal of establishing order and enlightenment from a state of disorder and ignorance. Ignorance, which what? Ignorance, meaning to what? To pretty much not to know. And let's see what it gives us here. Because that's pretty much what we're dealing with, you know, serving Yahweh Shem Yahushua on the right-hand side is a bunch of ignorance out in the world, which, These people don't understand, nor will they. Their eyes hasn't been open to the truth that we push, the truth that we're commanded to go out and push. Ignorant, lack of knowledge or information. And this is what these devils rely on, lack of knowledge or information, so they can continue on their wicked, continuing their wicked deeds, their wicked works. But here we're coming to give them to lift them up out of that state of ignorance and give them truth. But again, as you witness, as you see it, and experiencing how the vast majority of the world comes up against the truth. So they're pretty much, in all reality, let's keep it real, in all reality, these people don't want the truth. They want to remain in that state of ignorance. And as a matter of fact, it says here, the scriptures, this is one of those things that's wowed me since coming into the light, man. You know, the truth of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is when you dealing with people, and you, even if you have undisputable evidence and proof that they can read it themselves, they still don't accept it. You know? So Isaiah 30:10 says here that this is a rebellious people, lying children. And come on, this is just speaking, it speaks self-explanatory. That's simply what it is. Lying children, man. That an individual that's willing to lie to you is also willing to accept lies as well. You know, that this is a rebellion. I mean, of course, clearly, what does rebellious mean? Okay? I mean, it's no mystery to these words, but this is what we're dealing with. This is the world, man. This is why this world has to be literally, physically destroyed. Okay? Okay, rebellion, concretely, bitter or rebellious, bitter, most rebellious, rebellion or rebellious. I thought it'd give me a better definition. I should go to etymology real quick, and I'm gonna get too straight to this Freemasonry in a second. Give me a second here. Rebellion is a forceful resistance to authority, and there's no greater, higher authority than Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So that's ultimately the world. They're in resistance to authority. Often involve organized opposition and sometimes armed conflict against an established government or other power. Okay? So let's do this here. Okay, it says here that this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of the Lord. And there's and speaking of Freemasonry, there's a whole lot of Israelites that are Freemasons. And I'm going to show you some misleading numbers. And these devils do these misleading numbers intentionally. Okay, and those low numbers that they first present you is to have you thinking that they can't be that powerful. You know, there's always a motive behind this devil and his playing down of the size of things and whatever. So it says, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. Okay, so let's do this here. Okay, so again, this is it's a Freemason thing. It's like it. There we go. As it says there, Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Okay. And I was hoping it was going to give me this one meaning, which it didn't give it to me. Could it be in here? You have loved ones, man. You know, fathers, moms, which is the women are what you call Eastern stars. You know, um, my dad. You know, before he passed, man, he was. I mean, he never come visit me. You know, never. But this day he happened to come to my house, and I can't remember. You know, if my mom dropped him off at my crib, and I eventually took him home, but I ended up taking him home. I don't even remember how he got. Maybe I picked him up. For some reason I can't remember that, but eventually, what happened? I ended up taking him home, and on our way, me driving him home, he started talking to me about this Freemason thing, you know, which ultimately I figured out that, oh, okay, he's one. All right, and 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 immediately when he first started talking to me about it, I immediately gave my views, which I should have never done, because there was a reason why. Because I think, you know, I could be wrong, but this is what I read out of the whole conversation. Because my dad never talked to me about anything, man. He literally never talked to me about anything, and if it was anything, it would be about sports, and that's it, man. That's literally it. But that's why it was so odd and so strange, you know, for him to just come out and start talking to me about this thing, and he actually started mentioning some people that he knew, and um, a couple of family members, you know, about being Freemason, and he gave me his opinion. But where I made a mistake was, I totally rejected, and I started um, talking down on it. You know, like, hell no, I don't. You know, I'll never do nothing like that. You know, because at that time I knew what Freemason was, and this was in a period around 2000. It could have been right that first year or that second year I was in the truth, or it could have been right before. It was in that around that same period, around 2006, 2007, 2008, somewhere in that period, you know. So anyway, he shut down, and that was the end of it, you know. And usually that's how they introduce you to it, by, you know, they got to know your thinking, you know. They got to know your views on it, you know. Is their way of sizing you out, you know. Is how they recruit, you know. And I always wonder how my dad was always, you know, you know, he's just, I've noticed he always got out of trouble so easily, you know. Even getting pulled over, you know, drunk, high on his cocaine, the cops would still just let him go. Well, anyway, you know, whatever, any issues he gotten into, especially with the issues he had inside the home, where my mom would call the cops on him, but nothing happens. Nothing ever happened to him, man. You know. But anyway, that's just something I will always remember. That, again, that, you know, just you know, that I thought it was kind of odd how, you know, that this conversation was starting to take place, and how it took place. You know, I always remembered it, and every now and then I would think upon it, you know, because I was like, wow. But and the funny thing is, even after that conversation, even after he shut down and there was no more conversation on it, even his behavior toward me even changed. That, you know, he literally didn't want me around anymore. You know, I pull up at you know, I would go see him at the house. There were times he would let it know he didn't want me there, man. And I always thought that was kind of odd and kind of weird. But now that I'm thinking about it, it all makes sense. It all makes sense, man. You know, so there's a whole lot of Jakes. There's a lot of Jakes, man, that are Freemasons. Why? Because they're friends to the world, as the scripture says, man. You know, they're friends of the world. And you know what? This is the scripture. This is the scripture. This is the scripture. Yeah, this is that Micah 2:10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. And that's beautiful, because in Freemasonry, as the scripture says, even ashamed to even, and that's, I think that's Ephesians, if I'm correct. It's a shame to even speak of those things which are done of them in secret, you know. And I've heard my kid's mom um, speak, talking about her father. He's, who's dead now as well. A wicked nigga, man. Oh, wicked nigga, man. Um, I mean, he was cool in the most part, but he was a wicked nigga, man. Now that I'm thinking about it, I knew then, but it's all good. But I remember her telling me about conversations, and she, you know what? That's funny thing that I mentioned her. I don't conversate with her, nor do I go visit her. Hell, I haven't actually physically seen her in um, maybe 2008, 2009. When I left, man. Never went back. My youngest son still lives with her though, and um, she fucked his head up. That I could be wrong though. I think she's an Eastern Star now. I think she's an Eastern Star, and she got it going on. One of them worldly bitches, man. A wicked worldly bitch, man. Wicked as all hell. But like I said, when I left. And the conversation she was telling me about was a conversation she was having with her dad, and how her dad was telling her how in their secret society how they be drinking blood, man. So, and you know how Jake is. Jake's part of something, and they make it look good. You know how? Because Jake got fancy cars, got nice homes, and he had it going on, man. Working for because I remember he worked through Coca-Cola, and they all deal with people that work for Pepsi and Anheuser-Busch, and he had the hookup, and and back then I remember, and this was before the truth, I used to go by his house, and I used to buy cases of beer, because he used to sell me cases of beer for like $8. Cases of beer, man, for like $8, enough to double it up if I wanted to sell it, and I thought that was kind of weird. How the hell he's selling all these different types of beer, but he works for the Coca-Cola, I always thought that was kind of weird, but everything makes sense now, because they're all connected, all their brotherhood, man. Their brotherhood. And these niggas, man, these Jakes that are part of these secret societies, that's their attitude, that this world is their rest, and they gonna make, and that's something they teach each other, a philosophy they teach each other, man. Make this the only life you're gonna live, so make the most of it by any means necessary. Literally, man. I'm trying to think of the scripture. It'll come back to me eventually. But again, and especially in Freemasonry, how they teach you that Lucifer is God. Because they going the hell off. I can't remember, because I know they're pushing. They're saying Lucifer himself is they're saying he's God, but no, they don't understand the reality that Lucifer, or the Luciferians, are men. So when you go into Isaiah 14, it's clear. It's clear who it is. But my whole point, that these niggas, that this place is polluted and it shall destroy you. Why? Because they're making a vow. They've made a vow to serve Lucifer, man. Luciferians. So let's hit this right here. It's funny, Isaiah 14 is directly connected with Revelation 18. So it says here, Isaiah 14:1, you might Isaiah 14:9, in the place of the dead, there is excitement over your arrival. The spirits of the world leaders and mighty kings long dead stand up to see you. With one voice they all cry out, now you are as weak as we. Your might and power were buried with you. The sound of the harp in your palace has ceased. Now maggots are your sheet and worms your blanket. And you can see that's representative. This place is declining, man. It's deteriorating. It's in power and spirit, physically, mentally. This place is literally rotting away. And that's what the worms and maggots represent. Let me go to the KJV. Thy pomp. That's that. It's pride. It's pride, and it's bragging rights, and it's thy. Let me just hit it. Come on. The pomp. Thy pomp. This will be in a minute. So there you go. Exhortation. We're the greatest nation in the world. That's the strongest military. Majesty and pride. Majesty, exaltation. It exalts itself. Excellence. And that's a lot of foreigners look at America from the outside and they see its excellency, but when they get here, they're finding out it's a whole different reality. Pride and arrogance in a bad sense, and that's Babylon. It's an arrogant place, man. Okay, so thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? So come on, it's talking about a man. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the... And now that I mention that word pomp and worms and the worms that's covered thee, I was watching the Trump's birthday parade, military army parade, and you notice how it was a laughing stock, man. People around the world are laughing at how they've no organization, no kind of rhythm, no kind of in sync with each other. When you watch North Korea, Russia, China, when they put on their military parades, everything's beautiful. It is, man. It's so well organized and everything's in unity, and it's a show of force. But they're watching that military parade yesterday. I've been watching it since like 5 something this morning. A lot of it, and I've been laughing the whole time, commenting with laughing emojis, man. It is, man. It's all funny, man. And that's just a sign